Hello, welcome to Paxton Road TV. I am Sam Spurs for Life, and this is this week's Talking Points episode number 54. Just had to check there. In the house, joined as always by Paxton Road regulars Darius 3K and Sean Hell. Welcome, gentlemen. Good evening, and how are we doing today?
No different than the Middlesbrough game. I'm kind of just going with the flow at the moment and sort of trying to remember that there's also other positives in my life other than Spurs when they win, because gosh, I've committed a lot of time recently because of Conte to Tottenham, and sometimes when results like that happen you sort of think, oh, is it worth throwing yourself all the way back in it again? But no, I'm doing good, and I hope you guys are doing good as well. So
yeah, Sean, how are you feeling?
Let's be honest. Football is the most important of the least important things in the world at the moment. You know what I mean? It's it's important to us because it binds us together. But let's be honest. What's happening in Eastern Europe is far more serious. And
it definitely puts things into perspective. But then when you see all the atrocities which is going off in the world, and we've had recent and obviously the last couple of years, and then your team's not doing well, it's like everything's against you, and it's like there's no solace anywhere. There's no happiness to be had, and that's the problem.
Well, when the happiness is the talking therapy that we do on our screen.
This is the only thing that makes us happy, is to just get it off our chest. We're welcoming in the house as well. Since Spurs had a little bit of technical issues, but he's now back with us. So before we start the show, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Get your comments in as well. I think this is going to be probably multifaceted, as I said, because the fact is, inconsistency, there's going to be a number of things, hence the reason why there might be more questions than actual answers. But we're going to probably just chat about what we think individually, and we also want to get your comments as well. So hit that comment, send them comments in the comment section below, and also make sure you like, subscribe, and share the content as well. Right then, what have I got on the screen? So there we go. Why are Spurs so inconsistent? More questions and answers. I started to think about this today, and I was thinking, right, I'm going to have a couple of points. But I thought there's so many different things that's going to be involved with a team that's inconsistent. Then I started to think a bit deeper. Have a look back at some of the results from some of the other managers previously from Spurs. Jose Mourinho being one, obviously with his tenure being longer than Nuno's, and he had a bit of a spell as well where I think it was 4 games, just after about 20-something games. He had a run of 4 games without a victory. And then it's like, well, is it just down to individual errors? Is it down to fixture congestion? Is it pile up? Is it just that, teams have worked? It's so many different facets, but is there a theme? Is there anything that we can try to think that, could be improved? Is there anything that can be done from a coaching perspective? Is it just a bit of unluckiness? Or are we making too much of it in general anyway? I'm not too sure. Darius, I'll start with you. Just in terms of the recent form, the first 11 games, I wrote this down earlier. This is one of the things I had. So the first 11 games of Conte, and this is only just obviously factual in terms of, results. Inconsistency could be looked at in terms of results and performance. And for me, the more important aspect of this is performance, because you can win, you can lose games, but you want your team to perform at the best level, even if, they're not playing the greatest football. You want to see heart and desire. But going back to this, so first 11 games for Conte in all competitions, won 7, drew 3, lost 1. This was up until the 1st of January where we played Watford in that 1-0 victory. Then post that, so we met Chelsea in the semi-finals of the first leg of the Carabao Cup, and we've then gone on the next 12 games since that point. We've won 5 and lost 7. No draws in there. So that's the definition of inconsistency. Pretty much 12 games, and it's almost half and half between winning and losing, and no sort of middle ground. I again looked a little bit deeper. Is it Chelsea? Are Chelsea the catalyst for us just going on this bad run?
We lost 3. Was it 3 games we played against them in that period of time?
Correct.
I think we played them 3 times.
3 games in a month, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Correct.
So again, I don't have my money on Tottenham anytime we play Chelsea after those 3 games, but even more so, it does make it look worse. To be honest with you, I don't really know, Sam, what to really think about it. To be honest, that is kind of crazy. 1-5 and losing 7, but then, like you said, if you think about the performances, I mean, Southampton was one of those losses where we could have easily won that game, I think. Obviously, Wolves, I think we deserve to lose, definitely. Burnley, again, could have changed the tide, could have won that game. Obviously, didn't win the game. Cup games as well. So Middlesbrough, obviously, again, should have won the game, but didn't deserve to win it. So I think if you look at the results, it looks bad. Performances, again, probably backs up the results. And it's just a case of, I think Conte, and you mentioned this, and I don't think we sort of gave it enough credence on our post-match show. I think Conte is playing all the players he can trust, and they played 4 games in 9 days, and I don't really expect any player to perform at their top level for 4 games straight in those 9 days. So I think that Middlesbrough game sort of was the antithesis of all of those games and the horrible month that we had, and the fact that certain players like Harry Kane and Son and the midfielders, since we have barely any, have had to play so much, it just kind of culminated in that sort of lackluster, very tired performance, very tired looking performance. I think we were sort of blowing 100% in extra time, but even towards the end of the normal time, we seem to have slowed down a lot. So I just think it is a case of not enough players he can trust, which means he has to play all the players that he does trust so many times for so long. And then at the end of the day, 3 or 4 games in 9 days is going to do that to any individual. I don't care if you're Harry Kane or Harry Winks. So yeah, it's difficult. There's no one reason, in my opinion. I think you're 100% right when you say that.
And yeah, and like I said, going back to the first 11 games, 7 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. You could say, is that the new manager bounce? We're sure everybody talks about a new manager bounce. Basically, teams, you usually get players playing a little bit above their station just to get into the manager's plans, to know that they're in his thoughts. So I guess after 11 games, that new manager bounce was probably had. And a lot of the players, and we as I said, because it went up to the January 1st, that was the beginning then of the transfer window, where we had players who didn't know whether they were coming, whether they were staying, whether they're going. We didn't know who was coming and who was going. So again, a bit of instability at the club. Conte was talking about having done his assessment, talking about, I know the players I can trust. How some of these players thinking? You got likes of Lo Celso, you got likes of Dele Alli, Tanguy and Ndombele. Who else went? Brian Hill. All these players who maybe weren't quite sure if they were staying, if they were going, couldn't maybe perform to the levels that we wanted to when we saw the likes of Dele Alli come in. So again, I'm going to ask you this next part then, Sean. Is it just down to the players, or is there any one thing that stands out for you in terms of, I guess, that inconsistency over the last 12 games? As I said, 5 wins, 7 losses in all competitions under Conte.
Well, it's clear that he's definitely he's improved the team, but it's unfortunately at the same time he's not got the players capable of playing his system. And I want to sort of bite back a wee bit on what Darius just said, because why were we blowing? Because everyone has said that Conte has got us the fittest we've ever been. We're running more yards. It does seem strange that we're not able to deal with let's be honest, a mid-table championship team in an FA Cup tie. Certainly the thing that stood out for me, when I was watching the review show earlier today, was the possession stats. There's no way we should not be having 60% possession against a mid-table championship side. It's ridiculous. And but obviously my history with the club goes back a lot further than the rest of you here, and inconsistency is a thing. We seem to have little purple patches, where we've never really had a period like where we dominated a decade. Even in the 60s, it was the early part of the 60s, and then we managed to get a cup in 1967. In the 70s, it was the early part of the 70s. In the 80s, again, the early part of that decade. And then and in between the 70s and 80s, we actually were relegated. So, I've seen some pretty dire stuff. And I suppose that probably gives me a bit of perspective that, we're not in any danger of being relegated. And I think
maybe not.
I don't think next season either, to be honest. I think, yeah, but I mean, it is frustrating, but it is It is part of the DNA. Is that we will have purple. Usually we win things when we have a good spell, but we just didn't do it under Pochettino. We never did it under the sort of Yol Redknapp kind of that period either, when we had quite a good team. To me, losing to Portsmouth in the cup semi-final was probably worse than Tuesday night. Now, when I think about it, and that's because I've had the benefit of experience and time. So
we've had worse results. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I think that if we look back at this season, that NS Moore result, nothing tops that to me. Just because of the fact of, they're not even professional footballers, some of those guys, So
we had our most expensive player on the field, and he couldn't dominate that game.
So I look at that, but that aside, I guess because of the run we've been on, because of the sound bites that we've had in the press, it's all kind of come at a bit of a head, and it's like, well, you look at the results. Sid, I'm going to just going to read this comment here from Simplace. We're inconsistent because we lack quality throughout the squad, lack fight, and have a very weak mentality. That might be the case, but is that enough of an excuse for the players not to try? Because it seems like at some points there's lack of effort. Now, you look at the teams fighting down in relegation, and we look at the likes of Burnley. Again, you look at them, and you'd probably say their results have been absolutely atrocious, but if you ask Sean Dice, he's always very clear. There's just a bit of unlucky there. I know the players are doing exactly what I want them to do. Most of the time, there's going to be some outliers in that. But most of the time, he's usually happy with the way they perform. There's always a bit of lack of quality or just a bit of unlucky. They haven't got all the players fit. But there's never any real talk about lack of heart, lack of desire, lack of trying, lack of running, lack of those. And those basic qualities, no matter what happens, should be always there. So again, I don't really want to say, because the players lack quality that they can't fight. That they should be able to, but they do lack it. So you're right in that. So just asking you then, what do you put the recent form down to in terms of the performances? Not so much the results, because the results can happen, but I think we all agreed that some of the performances have just not been there.
I think personally, right, this is just my opinion, yeah. The players that we've got now have become stale. It's like when you're somewhere and you've got a 5-year contract or whatever, and you ain't going anywhere. You're an average Joe. You ain't going to go anywhere because no one's going to come in for you, and you just sit there and you think to yourself, I'm just going to buy my time out, take my money that I'm getting paid, regardless, because I'm sure some of these players are getting decent wage, and wherever they go, they ain't going to get that. If I play, so be it. If I don't play, then I'll just sit there and take my dosh. But I think, like you, Darius and Sean have already mentioned, and yourself as well, Sam, a lot of these players, there's no passion left in them. They've been through how many managers? Some of them have been probably 4 managers. And like you said, a new manager will come in and they'll just roll their sleeves up. Yeah. And then I swear, Soul to Soul sang a song about this, weren't it? Because it's back to life, back to reality. Because after about 3-4 games, it's back to life for them, and it's back to reality for the Spurs fans, because we know that these players ain't going to do anything. They've got 4 or 5 games worth from the manager. And then at the moment, like we're all seeing, Conte is just struggling to get even more out of these players. Some of them, yes, you can. But even the players like the likes of Kane, Son, sometimes Hugo Lloris, but other players as well. And I mean, Son, top player, right? But I think he's getting tired. And when he came back from injury, he had to come back because we didn't have anyone else, because we didn't buy anyone. So he's sort of feeling the tiredness, and we're not going to get 100% out of him every time. Although he will try and give 100%, but at some points we're not. Harry Kane as well, when he came back from injury, all these shenanigans in the summer about him going and that. He's not been top draw every game.
How about Sid? Just on that point, then, have our big players? Because this is another thing I've read. A lot of people have said, we've not performed in some games, but we have performed in some of the big games. But then in the lesser games we haven't. But is that down to the way that these teams set up? Because there's a comment here from, I'm just going to read Marlon. The midfield has been the issue. Now, we've talked about this before. all of us on this stream have. Teams that have worked us out, let us have the ball, maybe sit a little bit deeper, allow us maybe to have the ball in those wide areas, because we don't or didn't seem to be able to create much. I know we've scored a couple of goals from wide areas recently. That one springs to mind with Sessignon and Doherty, but we weren't able to create anything with the likes of Reguilon on that right-hand side, Sanchez and Emerson on that right-hand side was a bit of a problem. Is it just down to formation? Is it down to individual errors? Because there's two games that spring to mind that were really bad from an individual error perspective. That was the 2 goals against Southampton late on with the crosses from Ward-Prowse, identical goals, same place, same result. And the 2 mistakes that were made by Hugo Lloris in that Wolves game that led to Ben Davies making his mistake. Well, again, no manager can legislate for that. And we lost both those games at home. Does that make a difference to the inconsistency as well? Obviously, with the players making huge errors like that lead to goals?
Of course it does. I mean, you look at Liverpool, you look at Man City, even Man United maybe. Every one of them has got a player. Like Liverpool got Van Dijk. City had Company for how many years? Everyone's got a player, a dictator that's going to give the rest of the team that rollicking that they deserve. For us, the problem we've got is them 2 games that you said in particular, Lloris made them mistakes. Yeah. Then Ben Davies made another mistake after that for clearance. But the midfielders and the defenders are not coming back to, we've made the mistake. So they're not thinking, all right, let's try and rectify this problem. They don't. That second goal, I think everyone said there was 5 players behind the ball because they're all looking at each other. No one wants to take responsibility. Now, we've got some big game players apparently in our squad. But when the push comes to the shove, they're not taking responsibility and then they start blaming everybody else, I've heard apparently on Middlesbrough game that Son's been, a few of them had a go at Son. And he's kicked off apparently. I don't know how true it is, but Ali Goals has said something about that. But again, it's not just down to Son. It's down to everyone in that team. They have to pull together. And it seems like at the moment, if one guy makes a mistake, you're not getting that, come up, put your hand on the shoulder, come on, mate, it's all right, you've made a mistake, get on with it, we carry on as a team. It doesn't seem like we're doing that. So as a collective, I think not everyone's doing their bit. Son, out of all the players, I'd say Son is doing the most, right? Because he gives a lot, a lot. But everybody else has to chip in as well. And what you said as well, Sam, too many mistakes, week in, week out, and it's the same players, so they're not learning.
Yeah.
I mean, on Son though, Sid, he actually conceded. He gave away the ball 17 times on Tuesday night.
But apparently,
17 times. That is a ridiculous amount for a player supposedly of his quality.
But
and he stayed on for the whole 120 minutes.
Yeah, but on the flip side,
it was crying out for him to just be rested and taken off.
Yeah.
And if he'd been brought off and Bergwijn had been brought on at half time, we might have had a different result.
But on the flip side, and I was told this and I've seen the stats, apparently Kane lost the ball more times than Son did. So if you're going to blame Son, you're going to have to blame Kane as well, because apparently Kane lost it more than Son did. So you know what? That game, there's a lot of things that we can now sit back and say, you should have done this, you should have done that. And sort of Conte's got to take the blame as well. But
that's I think for me, the Middlesbrough game is where everything's kind of come to head for me. Because again, you can accept to a degree losing to the Premier League teams, even at our own backyard, because of the mistake. But the fact is, in the Middlesbrough game, I think we were outplayed by Middlesbrough. I think we were, tactically outplayed by Middlesbrough. I think we were outthought by Middlesbrough, and they took their chances. The only chance that they really had in terms of that clear-cut one, they took it. I know there was a few saves in there from Lloris, but we had some opportunities and we didn't take ours, and they did. And because of the lower level of where they are, I know they're 8th in the Championship, and some would say that the Championship, there is a big difference. There is I'm not going to lie. There is a difference in golf in terms of the Championship. There are some teams at the top end who play some decent football and can get into the Premiership and maybe survive. But ultimately there's a way of playing in the Championship to be able to do the twice a week, the Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday sort of thing. So there's a mentality there. So I can't accept this. Oh, well, the players must have been a bit tired because, Middlesbrough have probably played quite a few games over this part of the season. But I'm just going to mention this since I want to come to Darius, because I've wrote down about 10 things here. I said fixtures, could that be a factor in it? The fatigue, smaller number in the squad, physical numbers, that is. Key injuries to players, the formation, errors, the way the other team set up. The manager's comments, has that affected the confidence of the players? I put down Chelsea and I put that in a bit of a bracket. But just coming back to the fixtures, in September, we played 6 games. In October, we played 6 games. The only month we've had less than 6 games is November. We had 4. December, we played 6. January, we played 6. February, we played 6. And March, we're going to be playing close to that number as well. So is that a massive factor in terms of the number of games? That's 34 games in 6 months, literally, pretty much.
I think it's expected. I mean, when you're in multiple competitions, you are always going to play. You're always going to be playing a lot of games. So I'm not really surprised by the amount of games. In terms of the squad, potentially you could say it's a mistake to sell three midfielders in January, because if an injury happens and you're depleted in that midfield, then there's not going to be many sort of people to call for. But in my opinion, I don't think you can really count the amount of games played. The reason I mentioned it then was just because of the fact that the same players are going to be playing every single game now, and that's what is going to make the big difference is the same players constantly playing. If we had a squad where Conte, like he said, had a bit more trust in his bench, or the bench were of quality to make a difference coming off the pitch, for an example, Brian Hill, who again isn't ready for the Premier League but can make an impact. He impacts a lot of the play just with his technique and his ability alone. He can impact the play. You need players like that. For me, there's nobody like that. And like you said about the Middlesbrough game, it just proved to me that a lot of those players, I said in the post match, a lot of those players are of that quality, of Championship quality, mid-table players, and they're starting in our team. So again, as much as I'm surprised that we lost to a Championship team, when you actually look at it and you sort of think, okay, well, if I look at these squad players and I think about, would they do well against any team in the Premier League? They probably wouldn't, and it's quite bad to think. So until sort of players change, I don't really see much difference to be made. I mean, Conte can what's he going to do? Like you said, is he going to sort of hate on the players and basically knock all their confidence down? That's not going to do anything for anyone, because you can't sell anybody, you can't bring anybody in, you can't bring the academy players in my opinion, because it's going to really affect their confidence if form doesn't turn around. So what can you really expect him to do? I think you just have to sort of basically go with the flow almost. I mean, it's
go back to your point.
I don't have an excuse. I mean, sorry, I don't have a reason.
Just go back to your point you mentioned about the players in terms of levels, because that's obviously a massive consideration that people have actually said. The players are not good enough. The players are not good enough. The players are not good enough. But then we can get performances out of the players against certain teams. Manchester City, we've seen that. We've seen that against Liverpool in terms of the way they've played. As I said, I know you can always look at results and think, oh, the team did this and that. So you can get performances out of them. Is there another factor as well as the players, because if we just take it as an ability.
Sid mentions it, doesn't he? He mentions about sort of stale environment and being around somewhere for so long. You've been at a club and this is obviously on only certain players. I mean, certain players like Emerson who've been here a year just aren't good enough. But your Winkses, and I even throw like Dyer, Davis in there, like they've just been around the environment for so long. It's just sometimes you just need to bring in fresh faces and fresh scenery, and maybe that will also contribute to sort of that passion and desire. Because I think a lot of people can get themselves turn up and ready to go for what's it called. I mean, you can get going for a Man City game and a Liverpool game, but I mean, Burnley game and the Crystal Palace game, that might be difficult. So I think it's just fresh faces need to be seen, and certain old faces need to just go and find a new sort of experience and a new journey, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're not going to change, are they? I don't think any manager, if it's Conte, there's not going to be any manager in the world that's going to make them want to play anymore, in my opinion.
Sean, how far does this, in terms of the recent I guess, the recent performances, results, how far up the chain does this go? Because a lot of people are saying it goes all the way up to Daniel Levy. Now we can trace a lot of things back up to the board. We probably will do that anyway in normal circumstances. But I try and distance that bit because I look at what's happening around. It wasn't Daniel Levy's fault that, you know, Ben Davies in the game against Wolves kicked the ball straight back to a player. It wasn't that, you know, Enoch's fault that Hugo Lloris, you know, come out and flapped and punched it. But then there's elements that we weren't backed, and things have been said that, you know, the players are probably overplayed because we haven't got enough depth in the squad. We haven't got enough quality that hasn't been addressed for the last 5 years, etc., etc. In your opinion, how far up the chain does it go for the performances that we're seeing currently?
Well, I do think it goes all the way to the top. You know, I know it's a very glib thing to say, and it's a very easy thing to say, but they set the salary structure. We're the 6th highest payers, so we should only be getting 6 any season. So we're paying for a Europa League place and expecting a Champions League place. And you know, you don't have to look very far to see that the salaries need to be, you know, to attract the best players. You need to pay the best prices. And with Newcastle on the scene, they're gonna be able to pay whatever they're going to be able to match the Chelseas and the Man Cities, and they will, you know, there's something these, you know, that there is a certain amount I would apportion to the top of the club, definitely. So the recruitment has not been good for a number of years. That comes from the top of the club.
So again,
so I think.
The reason I mentioned that is because there's a lot of elements that do have to point back. The lack of spending, I guess, from that 2018-2019 period is obviously evident. And, you know, we haven't replaced certain players that have left. Christian Eriksen's, Jan Vertonghen's, Toby Alderweireld's, Moussa Dembele's, Wanyama's, Gareth Bale. You can even go back to that. There's loads and loads of names you can mention that if you look like for like, we ain't got the like for like. However, Manchester United, since Alex Ferguson left, have spent the most money probably in Europe. They haven't got the success in terms of relative success either. So again, are there other factors? Is there other factors within Spurs? I've mentioned a number of things there in terms of the numbers in the squad, but is mentality, that the actual squad, club, team mentality? I ask you said, does this need to change for us to be able to deal? Because as I said, sometimes these results are not shocking. When I think about it now, I look back and I think, yeah, that was, we went out in the 5th round last year, the FA Cup. You know, we've had results like this. We've had these kind of like Colchesters and stuff. You know, we've seen them. It's not like they've not been there. So why are we surprised? I think the more surprising factors come from the point of the words of Conte for me. You know, he's been so honest, and I don't think we've had this before. It's like, it's too glaring. It's like, oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want that carpet to be lifted up to see all that shite underneath there. Is that having an effect on things as well?
You know what? I think what they need to do is, and this goes all the way up to the top, like Sean was saying, it also, the managers or the guys that run the team, they look at the players, they've got to coach them. So if Conte gives him a list of players that this is the players that I want, these are the players that I think can improve Tottenham Hotspur, and most importantly, these are the players that I think that can win us cups and trophies, then Daniel Levy has to say, not a problem. If that's what you want, I'll get you. James Maddison, for example, Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, I want them players. I mean, it wasn't Conte, but it was under Poch. I want these players. Yeah. So you go and get Jedson. Yeah. People like that. So when you want players that are going to win you titles and win you cups and have the mentality to win and have been proven winners, if you go and get people like Jedson that no one's ever heard of, and, you know, players like Emerson Royal is one example, I'd say. Then you rely on Harry Winks. Yeah, then you go and get Brian Hill as a youngster with a lot of potential, and then not even give him a chance and send him on loan. Yeah, and now he's thriving, and everyone's like, "Oh, bring him back. He was top notch. He never got a chance. You know, he had the chance at Spurs. He didn't get the chance at Spurs. you know, we've now come to this part of Tottenham Hotspur's history or cycle where we've got one of the best managers in the world, a proven winner. He now has to back him 100% in the summer, and not only back him, when he says I want this player, he has to go all out. Him and PRTv have to go all out and get this player, because we've that midfield is non-existent. We've not replaced, like you said, Eriksen's, the Ndambeles, the Wanyama's. We've brought in players that haven't got a fight in them, right? When the push comes to the shove, we ain't got a fight. It's like a penalty shootout, and it's to win the Champions League or World Cup, and you've got a list of players. Nobody wants to come forward. You should be putting your finger up and saying, right, I'm taking this one. I want this one. We've got them type of players that just want to sit back and I'm not going to take a penalty. Let him go and take it. Let him go and take it. We've got no battlers. We've got bottlers.
So how does that change? Because we've had this tag for a number of years, and I hate using bottlers, Spursy, all these things that it always points towards mentality, confidence, being able to get over the line, winning stuff. This is my point. And again, sound like an old stuck record, but it comes back to the same old thing. You have to, as a club, win something. Now, that might mean changing the ways that you approach other games. It might mean I might not approach the Premier League game in the same impetus as I might an FA Cup game. And some people that might be like, oh, shock horror, you can't do that. Top four's the be all and end all. Well, it's not, because we've done all these top four lot. We ain't got nothing for it. We might get the players, and I know this is an argument that we can go on and on and on. It attracts the players and all the rest of it, but attracting the players, as I said, the Manchester United thing, they've got bloody, how much are they paying Cristiano Ronaldo? Now that he pays for himself, but they're paying a lot of money out for players like Sancho. You know, they've got in their lineup, you know, Rashford's, all those names that you could go through. They're spending a lot of money and have not got enough to show for it. But Manchester United have got that mentality side of things. I don't know if we've had a best 11 come out. So again, maybe I'll ask Darius first. If Conte had his best 11 out, would you be able to then say, okay, right, I can judge him on that? And what would that best 11 be, given all the players that are potentially injured at the moment?
I actually think 3-4-3 probably would be a formation that would work if we had all of our players fit. I mean, I can imagine a Bentancur and Skip partnership working as a two, and then it would allow sort of you to play Kulusevski, Son, and Kane up front, because Kulusevski is proven to me, and I think every Spurs fan, that he can drift and float and create. He's got a good eye for a pass. I think he can play that role. It's just, I just don't think that sort of, if you don't improve the wing backs, and I know Sean is always mentioned this, when it comes to Conte's system, the wing backs are so important. You can have as many good midfielders, as many good strikers as you want, but the creativity sort of comes from those wide flanks, and you need to have quality there. So, and you can see when the quality isn't there, and you have players like Emerson in that right wing back, it sort of makes the whole team look worse, because there's no other outlet for creativity if the midfield aren't doing anything. So I think it's just about pinpointing sort of these specific areas you need to go for in the summer. And like you said, the strongest team may be out. You may be able to play the strongest team, Dyer, Romero and Davis and Lloris and Sessegnon and who else you want to play on right back, Doherty or Emerson. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that those players, even the best ones in the positions, in certain positions, are still good enough. I think the midfield will be fine once everyone's fit. I think front line will be fine once everyone's fit. Defense just needs work. It just needs work. At the end of the day, you just need to get in a right wing back who can defend, a left centre back who can defend, and another centre back. I think we need two high quality centre backs. So yeah, I think the strongest team doesn't make that much of a difference. I think we would probably win more games than 5-7 in terms of that ratio, but in terms of performances and sort of the overall performances, I think the person that would probably make the biggest difference to that at the moment would probably be Oliver Skip, because he might make the defense look better just because he is so good at sort of his role as a sort of sweeper in front of that line. But I don't think it would drastically sort of change our tides.
Darius, do you think we've got a retained list for the season? Who would you retain from the current?
From our current squad?
Yeah.
If I had to What? So just what? Any amount of players that I would want to keep.
Any which because there was a question in the comments, and they said we lack quality, and I don't think we lack quality. I think we have got some quality players, but it's
I think you're right.
There's a lot of flotsam and jetsam, if you like,
I think you're right.
We need to kind of like find out. I'm just interested because I think it's who would you retain?
I would keep. I'd keep our captain. I would keep Dyer, and I would keep Davis. But then I would not start them. I would have 2 new centre backs come in. So I'm not. The thing is, my issue is
you're not keeping Son.
So I'll carry on. I would keep Romero,
sorry,
obviously, Dyer and Davis. I would keep Skip. I'd keep Bentancur, and I'd keep Højbjerg. I would not keep any of the right backs. Session, I think he's good, but I'd rather Reguilon than Session. But if we didn't lose any of them, I wouldn't be mad. If we lost one of them, I wouldn't be mad either. And then the front line, I would keep Son, I'd keep Kane, I'd keep Kulusevski. I'd probably get rid of the rest, to be honest with you. I just think that the problem with our benches, and like you said, of the players, is I do agree with you. I don't think they're significantly lacking in quality. I just think now with this system that we've got, it's very specific to what you need, and I just don't think that certain players are ever going to be able to find a position that's going to suit them in this Conte system.
So just onto that, the last 4 games, Conte's played the same system. He played the 3-4-2-1 system, and obviously the results would be the last one, obviously Middlesbrough. The game before that was a 4-0 against Leeds. The game before that was a loss against Burnley. And the game before that, we won against who? I've forgotten. City. That, of course. How can I forget City?
How can you forget that one?
That's our cup final this year.
That is definitely the one I've got the highlight reel for. City, obviously. So again, you look at that. We played the same formation. Now, this is what I looked at it before as kind of. I looked at Manchester City. They do that. They say, stuff you. We don't care how you play. We're just going to do what we're going to do. Played into our hands. Burnley says, aha, I know how you play. We know you got some shit players on that right-hand side. You can have the ball over there and you can cross to us because we can header all day. Do that, fine. And we can probably score from a free kick later on, which they did. Brilliant. We then come up against Leeds United. Everybody knows what Leeds are going to do. The whole world knows what Leeds are going to do. And Bielsa got sacked after that game because he didn't want to change what he was going to do. Obvious result, I think. But then the Middlesbrough one comes, and again, it's like, the more disappointing thing was not so much the result, was how they approached the game. What did Middlesbrough do so well to make us not?
It's not a hard game plan. That's the problem. It's not a hard game plan. Sean Dyche, what he told his team to do may look like a masterclass because he's gone and beaten Conte, but again, it's not a hard game plan to beat us. You just have. So
is that not worrying then, Darius, for the rest of the season? Because all this about
I'm saying. I'm worried. I'm definitely worried, but it's not Conte that I think is the reason for that. I think if, like Sean said, if you have players who fit the system better, I don't think you'd have these issues. But obviously we don't have these players. I don't think Conte is going to change it up because when he tried to change it to a 4, as I said, yeah, we created more chances, but at the same time we conceded double the amount of chances that we did as well. And as much as we probably do need to sort of create more chances, I know for a fact that defense isn't going to be able to hold out. So I don't know what to suggest. I think Conte is at this stage now where I don't think he knows what to suggest anymore. I think he's just going to pray that Kane can pull out a masterclass every week. Honestly,
unfortunately, I am not gonna. We're just relying on.
Well, okay, so I'll ask you this question then. I'll ask you this question.
Yeah, go on.
What difference would you have made to the starting 11 at Middlesbrough that would have made a difference to the finish, the actual result? I don't know what you could have done different within our squad that would have gotten any sort of different mentality, any different sort of passion. Could you tell me? I have no idea.
I think there's a lot because I looked at the starting 11 and I thought because of where Middlesbrough are in the Championship, I always thought, regardless of what, as long as we're not playing out 11 youngsters, I thought the players are good enough to perform and beat Middlesbrough, even if they played on the Saturday. However, I know that Chris Wilder's a very good tactician. He worked out what we're going to do. We still played the same way. So again, I'm not going to get onto Conte about choosing a formation. That's fine. Anybody can do that. My problem being though is we've all said it's not working. And we've said this on more than one occasion for a number of games. It took until 70-something minute for an elite manager to make a decision, A, with substitutions, and B, with the way we're playing. And the team was dominating us for most of that game. So that's
but he changed back after 20 minutes. So he obviously, I think he had the intention of doing it. But as you've seen, the amount of chances that we then conceded made him think, oh, these centre-backs are good enough to be able to withstand this. And I know that we weren't even losing at that point. So
But how many times did he change it? I think he changed it more than 3 or 4 times.
I think he tried to. I think he tried to, and he just doesn't have the personnel.
I think we went 3 at the back, we went 4 at the back, we went 5 at the back, and then, we went back to 3 at the back.
And then in the end, a 35-year-old midfielder ran the show for them.
At the end of the day, I don't think that's down to, you can play whatever formation you want. When you have Harry Winks and Højbjerg in midfield, there's no creativity going to be made. You're not going to be able to break down a low block anytime.
Bingo with that. We know that Højbjerg and Winks are not going to create in midfield, but yet we kept Winks on for all of the match.
Who would you have put on?
But we've got to check. This is what I'm saying. As an elite manager, I'm not saying that it was gonna get right, but I didn't see and I'm sorry to go back to that point about Middlesbrough, because Middlesbrough is the biggest one. The biggest problem for me is the Middlesbrough game because of the way that they matched us tactically. And every other aspect of football, they met and done what they need to do against us, which is concerning. And people are saying, "Oh, we've only got one game a week and we've got time to work on things." But so have other teams. If they've worked us out, other teams have been watching this stuff and worked out. If Conte doesn't change the way we play, we're having to rely on having our best players available all the time and hope. It's a hope, because I'm not going into any of these games at the moment thinking, because that tactics worked against City, it's going to work against Burnley, because it's not. Clearly, it isn't. So I wanted to see adjustments. I wanted to see personnel change. I want to see.
But I'm asking you, could you tell me what you would have changed within the personnel? What would have made a difference in that game? What individual would have come on and grabbed the game by its neck and said, I'm going to start putting balls into the space? There was no individual that has that skill to do that. I would have. Who did it a little bit when he came on.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was going to say, Darius,
smile.
Can I just say something? You know how on Middlesbrough game, right? You were saying exactly what it's about, that middle and whatever. As an option, what would you have thought if he had played Sanchez as centre-back and put Dyer in the middle? Yeah, because we know Dyer can pass the ball. We know Dyer will give us a little bit of oomph in there, right? Do you think that would have been an option?
I like that option. I do like that option. But then at the end of the day, that means that somebody are you playing Romero and Davis then as a right and left centre-back or Sanchez? Yeah. At the end of the day, I don't think Davies can play as a 4 in centre-back. I think it would help going forward, but it would hinder going back too much. And that's the issue that I have. I think Conte is playing such a balancing game with these tactics. It's like, I don't think Conte wants to see his team do this. I think he wants to see us put a bit more pressure on teams. But he knows if he does that, if he puts another body going forward, there's going to be too much pressure for those defense to handle. Emerson Royale makes Romero look worse. It's not Romero's fault that those goals go in, because at the end of the day, he came on and he was shocking. He was awful. There was nobody except for Bergwijn who made a slight impact when he came on. But even then, I mean, I think he missed an absolutely horrible chance to score when he didn't take it on his left foot. I think that it's just hands tied behind his back. I'm not even trying to make him out to be this guy who can make no mistakes and who's got nothing wrong with him. But I just can't feel sorry for him when I've seen this happen for 4 years with 4 different managers and nothing has changed.
Let me ask Sean, do you think teams have worked out the formation, the 3-4-2-1, which he's been playing with the 2 10s behind Harry Kane? Do you think that's been worked out? And if it has been worked out, are we just going to...
2 managers have said it to us, to our faces. Bruno Lage and Ralph Hasenhüttl. They said it to our faces. We know what to do. You press them and they fall back. And
exactly.
I mean, there was an incident. I think it was in the first half. The first half of the 90 minutes, and I saw Højbjerg joining the forward line press, and I just thought, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? Because that means you've got Winks on his own against maybe 2 or 3 players, and and the ball went past him, pinged it past him, and you saw him ambling back. Ambling. You know, this is the man who points to other players and says, "You did that wrong," and what you know, what you're doing. But
very Sissoko-like. That was very Sissoko-like. Sissoko, at his height of his shiteness, was doing that. He was the director of football traffic, but he never got there himself.
You know, it's why, you know, it's very convenient to pick on Winks, and he did have a very bad game, but I don't think he was helped by his midfield partner.
No, that's right.
He wasn't helped by his midfield partner.
I agree.
And that's the reason why in the second half, things like that meant that Middlesbrough were able to, you know, appear like Brazil at times, you know.
I could see. I said Chris Wilder had a very. We just touch on that game again because I know it's a bigger topic of conversation. But what Chris Wilder did, they did play like pretty much a 4-4-2, but it didn't look like a 4-4-2 because it was so well constructed around what they needed to do, individual performances, that the fullbacks kept coming in to make midfield, similar to what Manchester City do. But because they were a team that didn't have the ball, it just looked like they had about 4 or 5 midfielders in there. And I'm thinking, just loads of players in the middle there. What are they doing? What formation have they got? Oh, shit. And as soon as I started watching what they were doing, I was thinking, this team have watched what we've done. And all Chris Wilder said, do this. And they've learned it within, a few days, whatever it's been, since they've known they're playing us. Remember, they've had other games to play, so they've had to prepare for this game. So if they can do it in several days, let's say they've even had a week to prepare for this, I don't get how, you know, we can't. Go on.
Sorry, they came into that game on the back of a demoralising defeat. They were 2-0 up and lost 3-2.
I didn't even want to know that, Sean. Thank you for that. That's just added to that. That's just added to
Sorry,
the great.
You've got to, you know, you've got to know what's going on, and somehow they you know, they've got a manager who knows how to be flexible.
My issue now is that Conte has said, when he almost laughed about it, top 4, I'm not used to fighting for top 4. I'm used to fighting for titles. And he was almost chuckling. That's after the City game sort of thing. Now it's kind of like, is top 4 possibilities for us? And is he interested in that? What's he going to be like to get these players to play for that? Because that's the only thing. And I think I put in the poll, top 4, top 6, top 8, top 10 or below. I think top 6 is winning at the moment in terms of person's perception or fans' perception. Sid, is this summer almost feel like a make or break to you in terms of transfer, recruitment, manager, Harry Kane? I don't know. It just seems like there's so much stuff that we're all saying, it's going to be fixed in the summer. Do you think it's a make or break transfer window?
Transfer window, I was going to say, between now and the end of the season, Conte is just going to put the team out that he feels best.
Agreed.
That's going to go and try and win games. He knows now that he's got nothing to win, nothing to lose in a way, because he's stuck with what he's got. Come the summer, right? He's already said he wants certain players. I think I'm reading every day that there's certain he's handed that player out, that right back, centre back, midfielder, striker, whatever. He must have had a list already set up. He's probably already told PRTv. And I think every day now he's going in there saying, you know what, this is shit. I need my players. Daniel Levy's been told. And come the summer, I think it's going to be massive, absolute massive in terms of Conte asking for players, and Levy has to, at all costs, give him what he wants if he wants Conte to stay the next 12 months and beyond and make Tottenham the club that everybody wants them to start winning things. Yeah, I know 30, 40 years we haven't. But if that means a bid comes in for Harry Kane, then you let him go. Because at some point, he's obviously already now they're saying he's 50-50 about end of the season. He's going to decide, right? We can't keep having this with Harry Kane every summer, every January window.
Put it this way. If Harry Kane does that old hugging of players
That's what I'm saying.
At the end of the season and doesn't get let go next season, if he wants to go, then he's not doing what he did this season. He'll be off. That his mind won't be there. We will lose him as a player if we want to keep him. That's my opinion. I don't know if that's fact, but I can't.
And I would honestly, if Man City or Man United, as the rumors are, came in for him, and it's a decent bid, a good bid, I'd sell him and then go and get. There's players out there that we can go and get. And you don't get one, you go and get 2 strikers, right? Then you still got Son as well. So you get 2 strikers. And other players you get rid of. And not only the incomes is going to make a difference. I think Conte has already made his mind up of the players that need to go. And them players have to go at all costs. There's none of this bullshit about, you know what, I'll keep him until January, or if I get this much money. You've got to get rid. Forget all this sentimental issues and all that crap. Summer, you have to have a proper clear out. It's long overdue. There's so many players there already, right, that have been looking at the training ground, putting their feet up, living in the life of O'Reilly. They need to go, and he needs to get what he wants. Otherwise, like I said, we've had this discussion before. Summer is going to be massive, absolutely massive, and it'll either go one way or the other. And if it goes the right way with Conte in charge, then we've got a bright future. If it doesn't, then we are doomed.
Right. Well, I'm going to, Oliver, this is the last kind of question, or last summing up. And I'll start with Sean, then come to you, Sid, then come to you, Darius, and I'll answer it as well. If Conte is given the funds, let's say he's given everything he's required or gets everything that he requires, player-wise, blah, 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 do you think we have a realistic assault on the title for next season, given he's going to have everything he wants? That, I know, is a bit of a fairy tale, but I'm going to give you that fairy tale, and you can give me a fairy tale answer if you wish to. Sean, what's your thoughts?
If he's got everything, if he's got all the tools he wants, yes, we have a chance of going for the title, because he will. His system will work. It will work. I mean, it's proven to work. It'll be all, all the automat. I can't even say the word. You coaches know what I'm talking about. The automatic things, where you make the triangles, or you hit the ball across from wing to wing and things like that. All those things will fall into place, and he'll have the players able to play it. And hopefully, the ones he's going to retain from this squad will be getting, another 4 or 5 months of, working on that system. The ones that are going to stay behind, the ones that Darius has indicated. Although I must admit, he didn't retain Bergwijn, so I'm a little disappointed in him. But anyway, never mind. We'll agree to differ.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if he gets the players, we have a realistic title challenge. But how much is that going to cost? I've already seen figures of 500 million. I've already seen, But then equally, Conte has got, he has picked up players like Barella. Is it Barella?
I think you made the point, Sean. I think you made the point before. I don't think it's so much how much we're going to pay in transfers. It's wages. Because I think there's enough players this summer coming up who you can do some really good deals, free transfers. We could even go for Mbappe if we wanted to. Unlikely. But you know what I'm saying? There's them sort of players out there, free transfers that are available. But you ain't going to get the likes of Mbappe on 150k a week. You're going to have to pay him 400-500 grand a week to get him. So I think wages is going to be our biggest thing. If we can break that structure to do it, I think we might have a chance. Sorry, I'm answering before I've even got the chance to go around everybody first. Sorry, Zip. You're positive on that then? Yes. Yeah,
I think, and the wages go up and things like that. Yeah, we have a chance.
Cool. Sydney, what's your thoughts? Gets all he's got his snap-on tools. He ain't got them old Audi ones. They're all been thrown away. He's got the snap-ons. He's ready to roll. Start of the season. Is it a league title? At least a league title run. What's your thoughts?
Like I was going to say, give the man the right tools, the right equipment for the job, right? Let him lay the foundations, which he wants to. I don't personally think he's going to get 500 million. However, I do believe, that the children are the future. Let them know. I believe if he
not the ones in our academy, they ain't.
No, they're not. If he gets a right wing back, a centre back, a midfielder, and a striker, right? That's 4 that definites, and then a couple of other players that he wants. And when I mean decent players, I don't mean you go in for, like I said before, Bruno Fernandes and you get Jedson Fernandes, if he gets the players that he wants, I don't think next season would be running for the title. I don't think so, because Man United, not Man United, Liverpool, Man City are still going to be strong because they're still making their squad stronger. However, I think top 4 might be, because even if he brings in 6-7 players, he'll need time to bed in. But I think we can give a good run for the top 4, but not for the title. Not next season. Not next season.
Good point. You've probably almost stole my thunder. But don't worry about it. That's why going last sometimes isn't the right thing to do.
Great minds think alike.
Darius.
Fools seldom differ.
Darius, like I said, he gets all his players, or certainly gets the majority of what he wants, and he's happy with the squad. Do you think we have a realistic opportunity to push for the title next season?
I mean, history suggests so, and I also am on Sean's side. I think 100% if he gets every player that he wants and needs, we'll challenge for the title, definitely. I mean, he beat Man City with that team, that Tottenham team that ain't great, to be fair. And I think the only thing that he lacks really is good wing backs, somebody who can actually create from midfield and centre backs. And it is a lot, but at the same time, there is a lot of free transfers available this summer. And I think as he's been going crazy in the comment section, mentioning a few, Romagnoli, Belotti, who's also available on a free. These are all very, very high quality players that you don't actually have to spend a penny on. And if you can actually sort of plan, obviously with the sales of players as well, you might end up not actually spending a lot of money, but actually being able to bring in a lot of players. So again, it might not be 500 million. I don't think it would be anywhere near 500 million that you'd have to spend to revamp this squad. It's just, and then another thing I also think about is about the wage structure. You say, Sam, at the moment, was it Kane's highest paid player or Ndombele, whatever it is, Kane and Ndombele? If those two go in the summer, I mean, that sort of, you can then structure that wage. You can restructure the wage structure and sort of then find a new sort of highest paid player and maybe even set the level of wages lower because Kane isn't there anymore. The 200k people aren't there. You can maybe then start offering people lower contracts, being able to bring in players who might actually be more convinced by Tottenham because you actually said to them, look, Kane's not here. We want you in this squad. We want you in this team. We'll give you this money and we'll give you game time. So I think this is the biggest, like we've mentioned about sort of the past 4 or 5 summers, biggest summer. In my opinion, this is the genuine make or break summer for us. If we don't sort of do exactly what we need to do, we will get left behind. Arsenal will fly past us. United will be gone. West Ham will be gone. Yeah. Leicester will probably come back again with more. Wolves. There'll be Newcastle. This is the make or break summer for me, in my opinion. I think it's more than just Conte. It's more than just pleasing Conte. It is a case of really pressing a reset button and getting a lot of stale bread out of the squad, I should say.
Okay, my short answer to the go on, Sean. No, you could.
No, it's just Paul Wilson have put in there. Would we take Spence or Jones at right wing back?
I'd take Spence.
I'd take Spence.
But I'm told that there's a guy called Kane Wilson who's even better.
No, Spence is top notch, and we've been after him for a while.
Well, there you are.
They've been watching Spence for a little while. You're right.
Bayern are interested in Jed Spence now, though. However, so
everybody's going to want him now. Now that he's played at his
and did you know Spence is a Middlesbrough player? He's on loan at Forest.
He's a Middlesbrough player. He's a Middlesbrough player. Yeah.
Exactly. He ain't going. If they go up, he's not going anywhere. But
he will.
But their recruitment's good because they brought in that Jones to replace him.
I think Chris Wilder was their biggest and best signing. You know, he's a very, very talented manager. It's just that he hasn't got the look of that. He's like a Sean Dyche.
He's not got a name exactly. The name. I'd take both. I'd take both Sean Dyche and Chris Wilder for England manager. By the way,
they're good managers.
I think
they know what they're doing technically, tactically as well, and that's the problem. We look at it's bloody Chris Wilder. He's shit. He's bloody schooled us. Anyway, going back to the point, my answer to my own question is, I don't believe we can push for title next season. I do believe we can push for top 4. The reason I say that is Conte's only got till next season. Even if we get all them players in, we have to keep one of Son or Kane to do it. If both of those two went, I don't think we could get top 4 because to replace them goals.
Not even with the money.
No, because I don't think we're going to replace the goals. Who are we going to get striker-wise of that level, consistent level? We're not getting Harden. We're not getting Mbappe, them sort of players. So the lower tiers down, not even lower tier, Lewandowski's not getting them.
Martinez,
so you are looking at very good strikers out there. But again, unless we're talking someone that's played in the Premier League, to bring someone from abroad is a risk. Unless we get Mo Salah or, I don't know, Mane, or...
We should take a Calvert-Lewin or someone like that.
Oh, no.
As a backup?
As a backup, yeah. He's not
as a main striker.
He's not Kane's level. He's not Kane's level.
No, but nobody is really. That's the thing. I think that's the problem with us. We can't... If Kane does leave, we can't think that we're going to be able to replace Kane's output with just one player. You take the money and you spend it on 3 players who will be able to sort of collectively make up that goal tally. That's the way you go about it. So I would go for somebody like Nkunku, who's got 38 goal involvements in 33 games. You go and get a young striker who's known to score goals, and then maybe a goal scoring winger. That's how you have to do it. Unfortunately,
I think that's probably the best strategy to go for, because at least you kind of you limit your liabilities. If you get 3 players, you would at least hope 2 of them come good. But if you just get all your eggs in one basket and saying don't work out, as we've seen on many occasions, we're gonna get what's his name? Janssen. What's his name? Janssen. Vincent Janssen.
Do you know what makes me so angry?
One.
It makes me so angry because I saw so many Spurs fans, and I'm not sort of targeting anybody in the comments or any of you guys, but I saw so many Spurs fans on Twitter sort of turn their nose up at Wout Weghorst, and Burnley go and grab him in January.
What a player!
He is an absolutely incredible player, and I knew he was good because he was this good at Wolfsburg, and I said he'd be a perfect player to bring in to back up for Kane. And I was like, Wout Weghorst, who's he? Nah. And that's the sort of thing that annoys me. There are players out there who you don't have to spend 50, 60 million on, who can do a perfectly fine job. You just have to be able to know them and
definitely
distinguish them, basically.
I think what you're saying, Darius, is exactly what I'm thinking. We have to get the recruitment spot on, not just in terms of the numbers, but spot on in terms of who you're
mentality, everything.
And this is why
adaptation to the league, everything.
And this is why I'm a bit concerned about the Conte not having a longer term contract, because if he is only here till next year, you really want him to build around players that you know are going to fit into a system. Let's talk about Gil. Gil's playing really well now at the moment, but he's not going to fit into the Conte system currently in terms of those 2 10s unless he develops more strength for one thing, and again, slightly different adaptation to his game, because it's not a wide area he's playing in.
In an interview in Spain that he's not.
He even said that, didn't he, Sean?
Physically up to the Premier League.
Oh, he said that as well.
He basically said the Premier League was too physical for him, didn't he, Sean? I saw that.
Yeah. But
which makes me think that why send him abroad?
He was being called on to stay last night after getting them into the.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I think it's a good thing, Sam, because now look, these Valencia fans are basically worshipping him at the end of the game to get them into the final yesterday. I mean, that's probably put his value in Spain up at least. I think Barcelona, you know what? I think Barcelona will go in for him in the summer. I think even if it's not Valencia, I think a team like Barcelona will take a punt on a young
Spanish player.
He's that kind of a player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's that kind of player, Barcelona. I can imagine Barcelona saying, look,
that's another player.
And we owe them for bloody Emerson.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get out of that deal somehow. I think we're gonna have to run. Tell them the phone's off, something like that, because we can't pay that money. But no, going back to the point, this is the point about the players. We've gone through this cycle now. You can think about Emerson that we've brought in. You might think about Gil that we've brought in recent times. You know, look, Sessegnon is now just beginning to get into playing. Doty's just beginning to get into playing. So that's 4 players there who we've got, but are not really in the first team, or certainly shouldn't be in the first team.
Don't forget, guys, we've got Papa Saw coming back as well. Hey.
I think he's not going to get that. That wasn't a Conte signing.
No, it wasn't.
Emerson, again, and this is why I kind of feel bad for Emerson, because Emerson was not a Conte signing, and I need to keep telling people that, because I think people do forget he was bought when Nuno was our manager, and there was no intention of him playing as a right wing back in the 3. And unfortunately, because he was our right back signing, I don't think Conte was going to just sort of throw him under the bus, which is why I will not be against them just saying, you know what, okay, we made a mistake with our manager, let's just get him gone.
Can I ask a quick question then? Because this is a long-term vision and long-term thinking that I really want to try and do with anything I do, but in terms of Spurs. Right, so you've got Conte in. Conte's only here potentially till the end of next season. Conte usually stays at any one place 2 to 3 years. 3 years usually the maximum. So history tells us he's not going to be there long term. So now I'm looking at it from a buying perspective. You have to buy with a view to your next manager as well. Not knowing who that next manager is. But I think if we've gone down this Conte route, we should be looking for at least a Conte continuity type manager, if that makes sense.
We'll probably go and sign Inzaghi. I will probably sign Simone Inzaghi, who replaced Conte at Inter. Or you know what I think will happen?
Yeah,
I think we'll sign
a similar type of.
I think it'll be a Graham Potter or somebody like that who continues a 3 at the back. I think we'll probably sign Graham Potter. I can actually imagine Brendan Rodgers or Graham Potter being our manager in the summer.
Yeah,
it's going to have to be someone that follows that philosophy, even if it's the formation types of philosophy in terms of the 3 at the back, or are they going to get someone who's a counter-attacking style manager? Because you might be right.
Bro, give it Sean Dyche to the end of the season. At least we won't get relegated.
I think on that.
We're not getting relegated, Darius.
This is where we've been on here too long.
Points, man.
We've been on here too long if we're talking about Sean Dyche. But no, he's a good manager. I'm not gonna say that. Let's have a look at some of these comments here. Simply Ace, we'll probably spend most of the Kane money on property investments. Laugh out loud. Thoughts on Isak, who plays with Deji up front with Sweden, Darius?
Yeah.
He's a very good player. No, he's a very good player. He's a very, very, very good player. Technical, tall, probably would fit into the Premier League really well. I don't know if he's sort of, the mentality of the youngsters. He's not got that sort of drive and hunger that I see in like the likes of Mbappe's and Haaland's. But again, he's very young and he would probably work well with Kulusevski. So, but £75 million is what they want, is what they were asking Arsenal for. Don't think he's worth £75 million, to be fair. So maybe we could shop a bit cheaper. But he's a very good player, to be fair. He's a very good player. There's so much to do this summertime, and there's so many. This is what I'm saying. This is why there's so more questions and answers in terms of just this inconsistency. Because I think that Conte will now. I hope Conte just decides. You know what? I'm just gonna do what I can, get my players as fit as I can, and with a view to starting next season on fire. But we can't just let this season dwindle out because we will end up in 10th place. Realistically, I think we're going to be in the top 6. Anything above that, I think, is a real good season for us. A really, really good season, given when Conte took over, we were 8th, we're now up to 7th. So we're around about the same sort of place anyway. Yeah, if he gets us into top 6 or above, I think we've done well, personally. Few more comments here. As he said, next manager needs to play 3 at the back. Correct. I think it needs to follow some sort of philosophy or some sort of formation that we know the players can play in if the manager does change. So that's a good shout. No to Rodgers, please. Yeah.
Anybody? Brendan Rodgers for anyone?
No.
No.
I'm tired of counter-attack footy. So this is again going back to the point: is Conte a counter-attack type manager? Have we got a Jose Nuno?
I think that will change. I think that will change with personnel. I think it looks like that at the moment because we just can't create any chances.
Okay. Someone's saying if Conte leaves, it may be Poch. Any thoughts on that quickly? On Poch coming back?
No, thank you.
I'm going with Sean Snow. Please no to Poch. I just don't think it will work out again. I just don't think it will do. And Levy will be groveling to Poch if Conte walks. Well, we'll see. Guys, really good. What have we got this week? Well, we haven't got no games until Monday. So again, we've got Art Sid tomorrow. Is that 7:00, Sid, tomorrow? Tell the viewers.
I'll tell. Can I show the viewers instead?
Hi. You can do.
Go on, my son.
1 second. So, guys, tomorrow, if you're all free, just show you this. How it could be, how it was, and how it should be. That
gave me very much Fresh Prince vibe.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Guess it was a bit of what you put on your chips, bit of salt and bit of pepper.
Bloody 80s. There was going back to salt and pepper days, wasn't it? Yeah,
I mean, the lyrics are right.
90s, though. Should I say 90s? Yeah. It was not 80s.
Yeah. So join us tomorrow at 7:00. We'll be talking all about Spurs. So get your questions in and comments and whatever you want to do.
Whatever you want to do, people, get your comments into Artsy tomorrow.
That's
whatever
it.
You want to do. I just hope. I just want to see the players play. And what I mean by that is, we're gonna have ups and downs. We're gonna have losses this season. There's gonna be games where we're not gonna win that we think we should have won. Blah blah blah. But we want to see a level of effort. I just want to see a level of effort. I just don't want to see the same repetitive formations that don't work. If we play in a low block team and it's not working, why go into that game playing that way? Maybe look at something different. And there's nothing for Conte to lose now, so he can change his formations. I don't see why he has to be rigid on the three at the back, because he can maybe experiment a bit, go back to it next season when he gets the players. But at this moment in time, show me you're elite. Show me that you are elite managers, elite coaches. He's got a pro bloody license. He should be able to do things differently than, I'm just playing this 3-4-2-1. And it's not working, and I'm still going to play it, and I'm not making any subs until 70-something minutes. No, come on. I want to see something different. But anyway, Sean, Darius, Sid, I think that is it. We shall be back on Saturday for the preview show for Everton. Art Sid tomorrow. Judge Jodi will be during the weekend as well, I believe. I think that's it. Anything else you want to say?
Monday night's going to be a very interesting game with Everton. That's going to be an interesting game.
I mean, if we lose to Everton, I don't think it gets any worse than that.
Yeah.
No. And I also am going to keep saying this every single day that I'm on stream until that game happens. Dele Alli is going to score for Everton.
You know what?
He probably will.
I said this the other day. You know, Everton have just had an apology from the referee association for that Man City handball. You know what's going to happen, don't you? 95th minute refereeing decision. Dele Alli is going to be 400 miles offside, and they're going to give it, and he's going to score the winner.
If he scores the winner, I think I'm packing up. I'm not doing any.
I'll tell you now, Sam, so you know, so you're not disappointed. I will not come on the stream.
I won't do the stream. If Dele Alli scores the winner,
I'll be on.
I won't. I'm not coming on. If Dele Alli scores the winner, I don't mind he scoring, but if he scores the winner and then he suddenly does something, I don't know, he gets his Iron Man mask out or something, then I'm done.
You know what? I think Dele, if he did score, he would do the no celebration.
You reckon?
I think he
would.
I
reckon
he would too.
He won't celebrate.
I think he'd be doing this all over the pitch, mate. Personally, I think
he might say something to Conte, but he won't.
I don't know. Well, I hope that doesn't even come to fruition, because, guys, you won't be seeing me if Dele Alli scores the winner on Monday. I'm telling you that for nothing. Darius, Sid.
Let him score consolation.
Yeah, consolation's all right. Darius, Sean, Sid, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to all the viewers watching as well. Thank you for your comments. It's been amazing. Over 50 odd watching live at some point. Hopefully, if all of you smash that like button, we've got loads of likes. We should have over 100 likes if everybody's done that. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, keep putting them comments in and look out for, as I said, I'll see tomorrow 7 o'clock and preview show on Saturday 12 o'clock. And that, my friends, is that. I will see you on the next one. Can I find the music to go out with? Yes, I can. There it is.